Barcelona in recent times had found themselves in just a little bit of a soup when it had emerged rather publicly that they had been paying a former head of the Referees Association for what was, or what they described as, freelance work or off-the-books work of sorts. As it turns out, that's not a very good look, and once that news broke, naturally there were going to be some sort of investigations that were carried out, and Spanish authorities have now in fact charged Barcelona with corruption. Now again, bear in mind it's still very early stages of everything, and truth be told, Barcelona have put out their defense in the past. We've done a video on it previously, you can check that out if you haven't. But the simple thing is, it doesn't look very good for them, because the more you delve deeper into things, the more you realize that, well, it just, the optics are really bad. Barcelona's defense seems at best flimsy, and even if it's true, it's still not a very good look, and we'll explain why that's the case in this particular video. But first, let's delve deep into what exactly the matters were that have led them into this position in the first place. So they've been charged with corruption by Spanish authorities, and the reason for that is, of course, that they were, news reports had come that they had been paying a former Spanish referee, in fact, who was the head of the refereeing association in Spain, and they had been paying him to do some sort of consultancy work for the club. The only problem was that the payments at the time they were happening, he was very much in a position of influence. What's worse, they've also been accused of falsifying documents regarding that, which again just makes things seem really shady at best, and at worst it just is straight up guilty. For their part, Barcelona's defense has been very simple. They've said that, look, what we have been doing, it's not an unusual thing. Other clubs have done it in the past, and we were doing the same thing. And truth be told, they are right, but there is one major problem that they haven't addressed here, is that other clubs, when they have employed referees, or even they've either been A, former referees, or B, in no real position to influence anyone. However, the head of the refereeing association would in theory have power over the referees, and could very well use that influence to, let's say, influence referees to be a little more favorable towards Barcelona. And then the real clincher is that the man who has been in fact accused of this has said that, look, Barcelona paid me not only for consultancy services but also to ensure that refereeing was quote-unquote neutral. Oops, not a good look, as I've said before, and I'll keep saying this just isn't a very good look for the Catalan side. Now, why exactly is this so serious? Well, because as I said, they paid a person of influence. It's not just about them getting a referee to do some sort of consultancy work. And that has happened. Clubs like Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid have done so in the past, but none of those referees have been in positions where they could actually influence things. So the implication here is clear. It does seem like, at least on the surface, that Barcelona were paying a referee in an influential position to influence games in their favor. That is at least the insinuation. We're not accusing Barcelona of anything, but the insinuation is very clear. And what's worse is that sporting punishments are likely. Why? Because whilst La Liga has chosen not to investigate for now, because the alleged breaches happen, at a time where, well, there's a statute of limitations of sorts. If they had happened 3 years prior, then it would be investigated. But the last of these payments took place in 2018, which means La Liga technically cannot investigate. But UEFA has taken note of this, and with UEFA, there really is no such thing as a statute of limitations. If you're found guilty, then sporting punishments could very well be imposed. And truth be told, if UEFA imposed such punishments, it's hard to see how La Liga could escape without giving Barcelona at least a rap on the knuckles, if not more. So this is the reason why Barcelona are very much in a little bit of trouble, and it comes actually at the worst time for them, because right now they look to be in a good position as far as the season is concerned. They're well clear atop the La Liga table. They hold a 1-0 advantage in the Copa del Rey semi-final against, of all teams, bitter rivals Real Madrid. So they're very close to making the final. They could very well be doing a domestic double, but they're again bogged down by issues of the field, something that has been an issue for them a lot in these past few years. Many thought that with the resignation of this man, Josep Maria Bartomeu, as their president, that the controversial times will be behind them. But the return of their current president has not, in fact, helped things out, because Joan Laporta, despite being a popular man, has found himself bogged down by a lot of controversies. This one being perhaps the biggest, which admittedly, while it's not something that was part of his presidency, is something that he will unfortunately have to deal with. How this affects Barcelona in the long term remains to be seen, but it's hard to imagine anyone, especially Barcelona, coming out of this situation looking very good. Thank you so much for joining us in this particular video. If you enjoy our work over here at Sports Today, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and don't forget to download the AajTak app as well. If you're already on our channel, please go ahead and check out some other videos that we may have done. For now though, from my side, goodbye.